All right. Good morning, ghosties. Good morning, ghosties. Let's see if this works. Supposed to be. Glad to have all of you here on. So today, we're going to be covering something less technical, I would say, and probably more qualitative. So we know that we've a number of products, such as Ghost Auction, Ghost Market, Ghost DAO, how they work with each other. We've been slightly delayed with the Ghost Chain video, which will essentially cover the evaluation techniques for Ghost Chain or any other chain. So this one is coming. Plus, we'll be giving some interesting statistics recently, say capital gain stacks long term for crypto across the globe, some top hacks, etc. So that stuff is happening. And it's slightly more statistical, slightly more technical. And good morning, Mr. IDK. However, today it would be great to just have slightly more qualitative consideration for how we could move forward. So it's very experimental, as always. And it would be nice just to get your feedback, get your comments on what I'm going to be discussing today. So quick updates before we jump into that. We got approved for the EIP 7595. Let me just write it out, which is huge for all of us, for the Ghost community at large. So it is EIP 7595. We applied for it back in January of 2024, so more than 6 months ago. It's been going through ups and downs, through complete quietness and then revival, and finally, out of nowhere, it got approved, which is great, which is amazing. It's not yet accepted, like if you go to the website of all EIPs, it's not yet accepted to the core updates, such as EIP 20. So for example, EIP 20, just to give the importance of what's happening. So EIP 20 is behind ERC 20. What is ERC 20? ERC 20 token. You probably hear this all the time, right? So EIP 20 was the standard that was filed with Ethereum to enable the token standard for ERC 20. Similarly, EIP 721, that is the EIP behind ERC 721, which is the NFTs, right? The NFT standard. I was actually on the panel about 4 or 5 years ago in one of the major cities in the US, who was one of the authors of the EIP 721 standard. So EIP itself stands for Ethereum Improvement Proposal. So anybody in the world can file for it, and if they have something creative to show as far as the contract base, smart contract base, with proper descriptions, definitions, and everything else, then it could be accepted. So ours is accepted. So this is the Ghosts EIP 7595. We are essentially a contributor to the Ethereum protocol. And since Ethereum is EVM, it's powering the smart contracts with the Ethereum virtual machine. Similarly, that same EVM is used everywhere else. So it's used for Ethereum, for Binance Smart Chain, for Polygon, etc. Sometimes these machines are slightly tweaked, but most often than not, those machines are just forked, like, just copied and just, deployed on those 20 plus EVM networks, right? So those 20 plus EVM networks, therefore, have the same access to this EIP. So what we could do, what we're considering doing, is potentially filing for that same exact EIP 7595 on all the other chains, on Gnosis, on Binance, on Polygon. We may do this, we may not do this, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Ghost is an official contributor to the Ethereum protocol. It's not recognized yet that that protocol will be, like that 7595 standard will be integrated into the core itself, but it's a great beginning. And thank you so much for all your support. Huge thanks to the dev team. Huge thanks to Cosmos, specifically, and you guys, the community, the whales, and the council for supporting it. Because, yeah, I mean, that's a huge, huge pillar. And now we have, some level of intellectual property, right? Like, kind of, that's what's happening, which is good. So we're just proving our worthiness to the world. Okay. That's probably the biggest update. The other update that is happening is Mint Chain will hopefully come out with some type of promotional activities soon. So maybe next week. We've been in touch we've been communicating with Mint team early this week regarding which on-chain activities the place to engage the community. So we have 4 or 5 tasks. So we'll see if those go through, then we could kind of engage a bigger audience, and that would be great. Okay. I think as far as updates, that's pretty much it. And let's get to this qualitative thing that I wanted to discuss. So, hugely inspired by the man himself. Wait, now I know what to do. I forgot. So, very inspired by this person whose name is Seth Godin. Those of you interested in anything marketing are definitely recognizing his name. He wrote that book called The Tribes. Interestingly enough, about Seth for years, like for a decade at least. And it was great to, like it was so, and I knew about The Tribes, the book, but just never got to it. And in the last month, I've listened to it probably twice. And what it does, it gives a great framework on what to expect when trying to build a movement. And it's an actual framework with great examples, but also a framework. And I didn't find any other book that would do something like that. And being inspired, taking heavy notes, listening to it twice again, and try to really apply some of that to Ghost. Certain realizations came over. Interestingly enough, those realizations were brought by the development team, by Cosmos, by some of you council members as well, earlier, but I personally just didn't see how they fit into a big picture. But now I kind of do, and let me talk about the findings that Seth Godin has, and then how that could be applied to us. So, first of all, how's my audio? My audio is good? I think it's still good. Okay. Yeah, so the more the better. Why the more the better doesn't work? The more the better doesn't work because there's no real connection that can be created between users and the tribe, right? You cannot possibly engage with like a million people, right? So what Seth Godin says, he says, okay, so there's like this leader right here, right? In our case, that's a DAO, right? And then we have a community, like that's a circle of super fans be like 1,000, right? And they're all vouching for 1,000 fans, right? But those 1,000 them, it's needed for the success. Because then those 1,000 people will then tell their friends and blah, 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 blah. That's like the first realization. There are some great examples. For example, as we've been discussing this internally, this one gentleman responsible for purchasing merch. He's purchasing merch for great YouTube channels. So there's one channel in particular, 2 million followers, some type of travel blog. That woman sold 0 t-shirts and whatever else she produced. 0, despite having 2 million followers. And the reason for that is, yeah, they're followers, but they're not super fans. Super fans are those who will do and go like not an extra mile, an extra 1,000 miles to get to you, right? That's because, and Seth Godin explains why that happens. Like I'll also get to this in a second, like why that happens specifically. So the number itself doesn't matter, right? Now that same person, that same gentleman about the merch says that, well, conversely, there's like this other channel with like 1,000 whatever followers, right, on YouTube. Yet, like every single piece of merch is just sold out instantly, right? So that's the importance of the definition. Are we trying to get the followers like YouTube tells us to have, or are we trying to have super fans? And I tend to realize that it's really the super fans that we need to establish. So the sweet number is somewhere between 100 to 1,000. Ideally, get it to 1,000. It's not a huge deal. And then Seth Godin further says that with the tribe is creating proper relationships and not focusing on expanding the tribe, right? So he says, let's create communication among growth, because growth is just a result of communication. So if there's proper communication, we fully understand what the vision is, etc., then the growth will just take care of itself or not. It doesn't matter. It's not about having, it's not about being popular. The vision of Ghost is not very popular. I'll tell you the definition of popularity. Taylor Swift is the definition of popularity. We're not Taylor Swift, right? We're not singing about how every single guy we dated or girl we dated broke up with us. Okay, but on a separate note, we are a privacy protocol. We are Monero in the world of EVMs. Decentralized, fully decentralized. So, fully autonomous financial ecosystem. You guys will see this in detail once we come out with the MVP. You guys will be blown freaking away. Blown away. How powerful that is. Because all the explanations we bring to the table, that less than 0.01% of the actual reality. However, that autonomous financial system is not for everybody. Not everybody wants to learn about MetaMask. Not everybody wants to learn about the Web3, right? We talked to a bunch of projects. Myself, Cosmos, the dev team, we just talked to lots of projects last couple of weeks. Guys, I'll tell you, this whole Web 2.5 is spreading like a fucking virus. At this point of time, I realize that it's like, while in 2017 everybody knew that Web 2.5 is bad, now Web 2.5 is like this, the Agent Smith in Matrix. It's a freaking virus, right? So this is Agent Smith. It's powerful. Why is it powerful? It's powerful because, just like Agent Smith is, because all the VCs are trying to fund the Web 2.5 initiatives. They throw a lot of money into it, lots of marketing, lots of noise, and it's difficult to figure out which one is which, right? And we are going for, and Ghost is just pure Web 3. And that's not for everybody, because pure Web 3 is experience. Pure Web 3, if you lose your keys, it's too bad. Web 2.5, you lose your keys, great. Let us back you up. Right? So meaning, like, if you can back up the keys, okay, it means somebody else has it. I mean, if a centralized party can back up your keys, then they have access to your keys. It's Web 2.5. What's so fun about it? Like, what's autonomous about it? What, you think that the hackers cannot steal that database? You think the government regulators will not ask for that central database of your keys? Come on. Let's be real here. So Web 3, of course, has its benefits, but also has its disadvantages, right? It's not, you need to learn. And it's not for everybody. And we're not popular. Ghost is not popular. Ghost is a very, very unique and niche project. So that's something to realize that, I mean, are we going to have 1 million followers? I hope so, right? I hope we have more. I hope we have 8 billion people who understand that privacy is needed, that autonomy is needed, that Web3 is the only way forward to diffuse the power of the state, the power of big corporations, right? Leave them certain functions that they do super well, and then everything else gets diffused. It's already happening, by the way. In developed countries, which one is better, private education or public education? Which one is better, private medicine or public medicine? Right? Like some of those functions get already out, like delegated to the private sector, and private sector actually doing quite better. But then, of course, they take advantage of it. So, well, that's a different story. In any case, so the communication there, therefore, has to be pretty tight inside of our little ghost tribe, consisting of 1,000 people, right? To ensure that everybody's on the same page, right? So it's super crucial. Like if you guys want to bring somebody to the table, don't focus on like, oh, I want to bring 1,000 people. No, bring one person. If you want to, bring one person. But that one person has to be the right person. You probably need to speak to 10 people to bring one person. And I spoke to council members. We spoke to whales as well. And yeah, I mean, the common thread that we hear sometimes is, I'm considered to be crazy. I'm considered to be a heretic amongst my peers. Like everybody thinks I'm crazy. So I don't really have many people to speak with, and that's exactly why. That's exactly. Let's go to item number 3. So I probably need to scroll down. So item number 3, what Seth says is it's about. I think to me, like the first revolutionary one was not like the size doesn't matter. It's really the quality, but how he said it made sense. Second most important one was the great tribe does not convert people. All right, convert anybody to our belief. We are recruiting or onboarding, and he says a good word, not that he uses the word assemble. So we assemble people, users, who already share the Web3 belief. We're not trying to convert them and persuade them, you know what? No, Web 2.5 is bad. Solana is decentralized. No, it's great. So we say Solana is centralized. They say, no, it's great. Solana is like whatever. Okay, just don't talk to us. It's fine. Like, we don't need to hear from you. You are a different clan, and we're going to describe the different clans that we're seeing. Right? We don't need to convert you and to explain you and to persuade you that Solana is centralized. But we need to differentiate between those who are uneducated and those who are completely ignorant, right? Because what we discover with our whales, it's so surprising. And whales, thank you so much for doing these calls with us. Those have been super helpful. Because I just didn't realize the level of deepness that we have in our whales community. It's crazy. I thought that lots of people joined maybe because of airdrop. And it was to our surprise that most people we spoke to, absolute majority, if not everybody, from the whales, obviously council, joined because they either believe in John Market's vision, they believe in privacy, they believe in Web3. And yes, sure, we don't know everything. Like, we're not all developers, so it's difficult for us, not being developers, to recognize that something is not pure Web3. Pure Web3 where you can personally take responsibility for your own funds, for your own life, for your own financial future, right? However, I'm not educated, but I'm not ignorant. I'm not educated, but I'm literally very carefully listening to the reasons why Solana is a centralized piece of shit. For example, right? Not isolating Solana alone. There are many protocols like that. Or for example, that Tron is extremely decentralized. In fact, Ethereum and Tron together contain 66% of the TVL of the world. It's crazy. It's absolutely freaking crazy. 2 most decentralized protocols. Bitcoin just doesn't have smart contracts, so Bitcoin is the most decentralized protocol, but it's out of the way. Doge is also great, out of the way, no smart contracts. But specifically with smart contracts, it's Ethereum and Tron. Right? So where's your Arbitrum? Where's your optimism? Right? With all due respect to Consensus Linea, we actually love Linea, but where is Linea? Linea is great, like great team, great project, but where is it, right? When it comes down to TVL. So it matters. because Tron is full of people who believe in decentralization. Ethereum is full of people who believe in decentralization. Bitcoin, Doge, full of people who believe in decentralization. It's that easy. And they were successfully able to onboard, thus assemble the right crew. So if you guys are going to be talking to somebody, don't try to change their minds. Lots of them, I spoke to some councils, lots of their peers are not even Web 2.5, they're just Web 2. And we will explain like the different buckets. Like converting somebody from Web 2 to Web 3, my goodness, that's difficult. That's so freaking difficult. But somebody could be uneducated Web 2. So he's Web 2, he or she's Web 2 because they just don't know any better. And then you keep telling them like, oh, that's so cool. Wow. And then they of course get converted, but they were always thinking that way. They were just not educated about it. Right? Like nobody told them how it is. So there has to be a differentiation between like, oh, I'm an ignorant Web 2. I don't want to hear Web 3 is crypto is a Ponzi scheme. It's a financial pyramid. Those guys can go. The different question is, wait, I hear in the news that, Web 3 is a financial pyramid, but isn't like the banking sector Ponzi scheme by its own? Isn't the Federal Reserve and the central banks are completely, Ponzi schemes? Spoke to one of my very close friends who works at the Federal Reserve for the last 3 years. I mean, that's kind of the thing that he's telling me. He's an insider. I mean, that's the things that that we are hearing from the insiders, let alone from people who who understand economics, for example, right? So, and those people who start questioning the central banks like authority or the multinational corporations authorities, how come BlackRock controls one of the major holders, therefore equity holders of everything, whether it's food or financial sector or industrials or whatever, consumer products, right? How come is that happening? Is that a coincidence? How come capital, specifically monopoly capital, controls everything and then pushes on us this limited choice of products or services that we have to inhale and then take and pay for? And there's no competition. How come everybody's like, if one company raises the prices, all the companies raise prices? You notice that, right? How come is that happening? So those people can still be Web 2, they just don't know any better. But if you teach them, or if you guys teach them, and then they start like, oh, that's what I thought. There's nobody told me that. That's the right person for us. Okay? So we don't need to convert anybody, we need to assemble. People who already believe in it, just tell them about us. There are many people who believe in it. How do we know that? How many people in developed countries can have an emergency fund of $1,000? The statistics is even in the United States, if there's an emergency of $1,000, a significant majority of population won't be able to come up with it. So 50% plus population cannot come up with $1,000 of extra costs. That's United States. You take developing countries. You take Turkey with hyperinflation, Argentina with hyperinflation. You take Nigeria. You take Indonesia. You take huge populations with huge talent source, and they just don't have the opportunity because that opportunity is taken from them by the elites, and the elites are then not the elites of the nation. Those national elites are controlled by the global elites, right? So national elites cannot be that smart. We know that. So those are a couple of revelations we learned, and so yeah. So I think like these pillars of the smaller the better. So it's not 1,000, it's not 1,000,000 users. It's 1,000, but what time? Test. Hmm. Can you guys hear me now? No, it's, it, uh, maybe it works. How about now? Does it work better? I think it's slightly, yeah. How about this? How about we just continue with this sound here? Yes, now it's good. Okay. Now it should be good. So a quick 3-minute break. Yeah. Okay. So now let's get to the most important part. How do I throw emojis? Okay, whatever. So let's get to the most important part of the buckets, right? So who not, right? So let me erase everything and continue. Guys, sorry for this audio stuff. At some point of time, it will be perfectly fixed. In some futuristic time. So let's discuss different buckets of people that we deal with on a daily basis. So the first big group, huge group, is Web3. But we don't have Web3 per se yet. So that's a lie. What we have is we have Bitcoin maximalists, typically. And the Bitcoin maximalists is this really huge tribe. And we respect them because they believe in decentralization, and there are good ways for them not to believe in any other protocols at this point of time. It's like to be honest, given the fact that the majority of these protocols are completely centralized, I don't blame that some people just go for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the most decentralized protocol, even when we talk about Ethereum, for example, because Bitcoin's control of the whales of the supply is 1%, but for Ethereum is around 30%. Now it's increasing because of the likes of Lido and all the other protocols. That's the first big tribe. The second big tribe, we call them, I don't even know how to call them, maybe everything crypto, right? And that's a dangerous one. So everything crypto is like, oh, Solana is new, yeah, let's go. Or this, whatever, Depin, the new Depin tech is great. Oh, let's go, yeah, absolutely. Or like, Chainlink is doing a great job. Okay, fine. Like they have full smart contracts, but for some reason that's decentralized, controlled by centralized oracles. Okay, fine. What else? I mean, there are a bunch of protocols out there that are completely centralized. For example, like a typical tokenomics questions we have from everything crypto people is, okay, let's create this company. It generates revenue. And if it generates revenue, what we can do is we can bypass 50% of that revenue to the users, to the tokens. So we put this to the treasury. And then this treasury is backing up the token supply, right? That's all cool, but the revenue is the centralized aspect. But they say, no, but it's fine. We'll connect, the revenue, the centralized part, with the smart contract treasury, which is Web3, right? So the reason why it's called Web 2.5, because they're literally connecting Web 2 and Web 3. Always. They're trying to connect it, and of course that connection is never possible. It's a hybrid, which is called Web 2.5. But in their minds, this everything crypto kind of clan or tribe minds, it sounds okay. But that's not okay. Now, for example, like everything crypto, Solana, right? Solana is decentralized. Okay, fine. Solana is decentralized. But in order to run a node, you need to have $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 a month payment. Yeah, it's decentralized. Anybody can become a validator. Just pay $10,000 a month. Who has this? And like, it's not permissionless because you won't be able to even join the network, right? So that's Solana. But everything crypto people say, yeah, it's cool. There's a word decentralized on the website. That's a very dangerous group of people. And then the third one is Web 2. And to be honest, Web 2, to be pure Web 2 and just not believe in everything, or be pure, Bitcoin maximalist, those are good. Because at least those are authentic. Right? Web 2, I just don't believe in crypto. I just think there's no business model. And Web 2 people are also right. Because typically they say there's no revenue that is generated. To some extent, that's correct. I can debate that. But it's a correct, for the most protocols, anyways, there's no revenue. To some protocols such as Uniswap or Bitcoin or Ethereum, there's revenue, and this revenue is distributed in a decentralized fashion. However, it's correct, there's no centralized revenue that can go back to the company and improve it. Because if you are a company and you generate revenue, and then part of that profit goes back to improve the company in a centralized fashion, of course it's better. Because it's a centralized fashion. It's in a disciplined way. So in that phase, the companies, of course, can go ahead further just because it's easier to spend the profit. So Web 2 people are not insane. Web 2 people are totally sane. And by no means we should be disrespecting any of these clans. But the most dangerous, of course, is the everything crypto one. Because it seems like they're in crypto. It seems like they're like almost there, right? Like they're already kind of like believing in the right vision, but they're not believing in the right vision. They just hate Web 2, they hate Web 3, they're somewhere in the middle, and it's a dangerous position to be in, right? So I would say, yeah, the most critical, the most dangerous is everything crypto people. But there's this layer that is completely untapped. Nobody talks about it in the press. It's 1.5. 1.5 clan, that's pure Web3. Why are they in the middle? Because pure Web3 includes Bitcoin maximalists. Because if you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you already definitely believe in Web3. Right? So if you're pure Web3, you're also a Bitcoin maximalist to some extent. But Web3 also believe in decentralized protocols. If they're truly decentralized, we're talking about Ethereum, we're talking about Uniswap, we're talking about SushiSwap, right? Like all the DEXs. We're talking about potentially MetaMask. It's a good product. Imagine, do you know that MetaMask does not have a token? Everything crypto people would say, oh, it's a wallet. Let's have a fucking token attached to it. We have so many users. Users will be making transactions in our MetaMask token. But MetaMask is like, no. We are pure Web3. There's no need for the token, right? Like it's a product, right? So, for example, these new partners of ours, potentially we're trying to find how to integrate with them. ERPC, right? That's they just reached out to us the other day, like about a week ago. ERPC, they create a load balancer, like essentially router to public RPCs. There's no token for ERPC. It's an open source product. It's a product. It's not supposed to have a token. Not every single Web3 product is supposed to have a token. That's what really irritates everything crypto people, because they want to bring the token everywhere. Because they are like, oh, Bitcoin is up so much, my token has to be up as well. Let's attach the token everywhere we can and cannot. Everywhere where it's compliant and legal, and everywhere where it's not compliant and legal. We don't care, we just need a token. But this pure Web3 audience is completely untapped. And the more I speak to whales, the more I realize that I don't know how. We're not sure how we did it, but everybody we spoke to so far on the phone, totally Web3, pure Web3. Again, you guys don't know some of these protocols, and you guys don't know, everything development-wise. Some of you guys do, by the way, but some of you don't. But it does not mean that you are not pure Web3, because you share the vision of decentralization is important. But everything crypto is also decentralization. Decentralization is important. How do we contradict each other? Well, no, it's not, because they say, for example, when they say revenue is cool, which is Web2, we will be. They say this: we're going to be collecting revenue, and in a centralized fashion, committing that revenue to the Treasury smart contract. So the community has to trust us, because we are good people. We're just good people. We don't care about money. We're just good people. But of course, that's bullshit. Nobody's good, right? Like, it's not trustless, it's trusted. Like, the community has to trust these people who generate revenue to actually commit parts of this revenue to the Treasury. And that's what creates this disconnect. Plus, there's some compliance issue, for example, for this case in particular, where if the Treasury is funded by the revenue, now this Treasury or the token that is being backed is considered to be a security, which is, of course, unregistered. So then you cannot offer this to the US, you cannot offer this to Europe, but these are the biggest markets that these everything crypto people go after. Right? So it just creates all these logical traps. But POWeb3, it's a smart contract base. It's typically not upgradable. You just launch it, deploy it. The admin has no rights over it. That's it. It's public good. Uniswap, it's a public good. It's not upgradable, the smart contracts. I think SushiSwap is the same. Not upgradable, so nobody can change it. That's it. It's actually public good. And the founders did not have 90% supply, right, to drop on the hands of the retailers. Spoke to whales. How many of you guys got scammed? Not explicitly scammed by, hacks or just purposefully bad projects, but implicitly. Because 10% of the supply was given to the community. 90% of the founders dropped their tokens on the community. Boom. That's a great business model for them, I think. But you guys are the ones who get hurt. Just unfair. So this pure Web3 tribe, completely untapped. And that's what we need to bring to whales. And I think that's what Ghost needs to become. Ghost, from communication perspective, needs to be the voice, not recruiting, not converting, but assembling, onboarding Web3 thinkers who perfectly believe in the future of an independent man or woman who can decide their own future, right? That's what we believe in. And the code base is just a tool to emphasize that possibility. That's all. There are lots of Web3 thinkers who never use the MetaMask in their life. It doesn't mean they're not Web3. They're totally Web3. They're the rebels, right? Bitcoin maximalists are included in pure Web3, and sometimes they have really good arguments about why Bitcoin is the only thing. And I will never criticize those beliefs. Those are absolutely perfect, great, and respected and understood. But we believe that there are some other pure Web3 projects that could be also added to the list. So it would be great to hear your thoughts. Let me turn off Paint and maybe just start answering questions. Yeah. So, all right. So let me go through your comments, and guys, would love to hear your feedback. So, Jason, last week you made mention of Ethereum gas being exorbitant as the reason why a privacy protocol you mentioned isn't deployed on it. I really can't recall the name of the protocol, to be continued. Zether. It's called Zether technology. It's a Zether tech. It was never deployed on Ethereum, although it's a perfect application for it. Jason, now mentioned last week, I don't think it's Zcash, which is a privacy coin, Monero. Yeah, so it's Zether. So it's not exactly, again, it's not a token. It's not an existing protocol that has a token and a community. It's just a technology that was never deployed, unfortunately. and we just took advantage of it. Majorly inspired. So Jason continues, that's why I chose to refer it as a protocol. I could be wrong anyway. My question therefore is, do you think considering the upcoming Ethereum upgrade that will enhance the scalability as well as reduce the transaction fee of Ethereum, there might be a likelihood of Ethereum deploying this protocol in future, which might affect Ghost Chain. So let's put it this way. If we believe in Web3, we love Monero. We love, to some extent, Zcash. We love Bitcoin. We love Ethereum. We are not here competing with other Web3 protocols. Like it's a crazy thought, but while some people may say, "Oh, this world is abundant," or other people can say, "No, it's a scarce world." So let's assume we believe that it's a scarce world, in which case we have to compete with Ethereum. Or other people say, "Well, no, like successful people believe in abundance, and let's be abundant." And so I wouldn't think that's a question of abundance versus scarcity here. I think it's a question about Web3 versus not Web3. And I think the biggest, and Seth Godin actually writes about it as well. He says there's sometimes tendencies to compete with other tribes that have similar vision. And he says, well, essentially, if another tribe has a similar vision, just join the tribe. Don't compete with it if you have the same vision. And in practical applications, you will see that, say political opposition always competes with each other, always. And let's assume if it's a minority, let's assume the majority is 90%, and then there is the opposition of 10%. Within the 10%, you will have 20 different political parties. And what will happen is they will start competing with each other, each getting 0.5%, and unable to provide any exact competition. Then the question is, how could 10% ever, even if they united, how would they be able to fight against the 90% majority? The key trick is the 90% is not the majority. 90% majority contains 10% heretics, and the other 80% are just lurkers. They just follow whoever is a majority. So when you are 10% minority, if you unite together, you are able to fight the 90% majority because you're fighting against another 10% majority, the influencers. And once you're able to fight it, the 80% of majority will switch to you and making you majority. Makes sense, right? So when it comes down to Web3, we should not be battling with anybody who shares the same vision. And to be honest, it's working pretty well because everybody, like say, Gnosis protocol, Web3, pure Web3, lots of people love it, open source contributions, etc. It's so easy for us to communicate with them. In fact, they brought us some interesting projects such as Block Scout, right? Why would we compete with them? If Zther technology becomes a leading technology on Ethereum, that's amazing because now Ethereum can finally be private, right? So you can be anonymous on Ethereum, which is great. It's still going to be very expensive no matter what. It's still going to be expensive. But how can you still transact between Ethereum and Celo? How can you transact between Ethereum and Arbitrum? How can you bridge between Ethereum and Polygon? That's where Ghost comes in. That's why the privacy feature for us is not the most crucial one. The privacy feature is a feature, but the core is Web3 decentralized bridges connecting the entire ecosystem together. And think about this. If Ghost vision is to unite pure Web3 people, and we do that by bridging truly Web3 people through decentralized bridges, isn't that a great vision to have? So, Jason, great question, and I hope I answered it. Great question. Okay, then you guys just said the audio was crap. Thank you so much for letting us know. Mr. IDK, your explanation makes good sense. Thank you for your thoughts and sharing. Appreciate Mr. IDK. Thank you so much for your participation. Great as always. So, Zafiro, in your experience, where did you find the most compatible Web3 people? So, the best way, I think, the biggest mistake, let me admit mistakes, because I think we've made many mistakes. And unfortunately, those mistakes make an impact on you guys as council members and whales. I think the biggest mistake I've made is underappreciate the fact that those huge waves we had from Linnea last year, from Gnosis, from Aurora, maybe 100% of these people who came over were not all Web3. They were educated to be Web3. They had a wallet, but they were Web 2.5, right? Because Web 2.5 can easily be very educated on how to utilize the ecosystem, how to do DeFi protocols, how to do NFTs. Like if you are plugging your liquidity into DeFi, it does not mean that you're Web3. You can easily be Web 2.5. Just because you, and that's the biggest problem, right? Like that's like we think that, oh, the person is, like crushing it, like doing these protocols. Like this one, I saw this one dude, very ripped, muscles, like huge house, of course, huge house. He has to have a huge house in Miami, giving advice to the novice, like how to make money. He's like, I'm a crypto investor. Like what I think you should do. He gives advice, like this fucking guy who's like barely 30 years old. He already knows what life is all about. He's like, I know what needs to happen. Like, you need to buy tokens. Don't buy some crap. Not meme coins. But let's buy these AI tokens. You motherfucker. Like, how is AI tokens better than meme coins? Just because it has the word AI in it? Do you know what AI stands for? Do you even know what that means? Right? Because most people don't understand what AI means. Like, they think open ChatGPT is like, will lead to AGI. No, it's just a text recognition, whatever they call, right? Specific protocol. Like the technology has been out there since 1980s. Like when you autocorrect your text in your Microsoft Word or whatever, that's the same technology that is used in ChatGPT essentially. ChatGPT is just a great product, amazing product, but not tech. So that guy says, well, AI, like invest in AI coins. Those will do great, right? So that's a Web 2.5 dude. He thinks he's crypto. He thinks he's Web 3, but he's Web 2.5. He is more capable. He knows probably more DeFi protocols than me or you, right? He knows more coins than me or you, but he's Web 2.5. He's not sharing the vision of, like, listen, only Web 3 projects you should be investing or supporting. Even if you're not going to get any price action, it doesn't matter. You're there for the next 20 years. You're changing the future. Seth Godin says another thing. He says, it's not, actually not him, maybe not even him, but somebody who was discussing the book. It's not the leaders of the tribe, which in this case could be considered to be council. Like council is the leaders of the tribe, right? Who should be given praise to, or who should, or those who make any moves. It's the whales. It's the community members who are taking massive risk to be heretics. And those are the ones, like you guys are the ones, like Jason, you are the ones, Safir, you're the Mr. Like you guys are the ones who have to take the risk, potentially, and be crazy enough to, lose everything, maybe your reputation, whatever, discussing the privacy protocol and Web3 vision with your peers. And your peers will be laughing in your faces. So you guys it's the 1,000 people who are the heroes. That's why it's impossible to convert them to be heroes. You have to assemble them. And it's interesting how the 250 or so whales that we spoke to, it seems like all heroes. It's crazy. Why? Because they think already like Web3. This one gentleman, Prime, who's also our admin, from Nigeria, without telling us, went ahead and started a seminar in one, I think it's like one of the universities or something. He rented a space, paid out of his own pocket, right, to educate people about Web3 and also about Ghost. He's a hero. He's a freaking hero, right? Jason, you told me, right, some things about how you self-learning how to program an ERC20 token, right? And there's nobody to learn from, and you're learning from, from online, right? From the internet. That's like, and people probably tell you that you're a crazy guy. But you're the hero. You're not crazy. You're a hero. You just believe in this, right? Safira, I mean, we spoke to you. we kind of know your views on the world. And like, trust me, not everybody shares those views. You're probably considered to be an outcast, right? Like people around you think that you're crazy. But that's what it takes, right? Like it, and I think the mistake that I've made personally is I did not engage enough the users that we got from the Neo wave. Yes, 100% of those people would not be Web3, but some seeds, maybe 1%, maybe 0.1%. We have such a huge wave. It was 400,000 people. Let's assume it's 1%. It's extra 4,000 people that we didn't have to convert. We just had to assemble. So how are you going to correct those mistakes? From any other upcoming waves, hopefully Mint, if it ever happens, we will be trying to communicate with everybody. And if you guys could help us communicate with the newcomers, that would be great. Because we're not trying to convert anybody. We're not trying to persuade, to explain that Ghost is the best thing since sliced bread. Absolutely not. We're trying to ask, are you a Web3 fan or not? Because if they are, they will appreciate Ghost. And if they're not, nothing happens. Like, right? So, and since there are no other voices for Web3, we could become that voice, and we should. So, going back to the question from Zafir, in your experience, where and how do you find the most compatible Web3 people? You just talk to everybody you can talk to. Typically, it's online, which is great because you can be in any location. You're not limited to your immediate circle of peers. Some Reddit. By the way, check Reddit. Lots of that stuff is cleaned up. Like Web3 people are literally assassinated online by their posts being removed, right? Banned, accounts being banned on Reddit. Of all the places on Reddit, it's crazy, right? But it's happening. Like you will see, for example, when we were looking for layer 0 criticism, these posts have been, eradicated. It's like the same thing as assassination of freedom of speech. If you say something bad about layer 0, that's it. We'll shoot you, right? So we need to, what do we find? We just find everywhere, but most importantly, amongst our community members. So in the whales, right? So I think that we have 100% or close to 100% of, of depth in the whales group, but maybe not. And we also have a general community, and that's 10,000 people. And what I think we should start doing is just start engaging and start throwing our thoughts, honest thoughts, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be the team, like the dev team, myself, the marketing team, even the council, who is behind the success. If the movement is successful, the movement will be successful because of you guys as heroes. That's what needs to be realized. And you guys need to vocalize and voice it, right? At this point of time, we're making decisions over tech because, it's just faster. Once the core is finished, the community members will start contributing. The council is already contributing, right? So that's kind of how it works. So yes, we took kind of monopoly on certain aspects at this moment, just because it's faster to get deployed. But once that stuff is deployed, the core is then totally expandable for anything Web3. So that's where your contributions will be even more worthy. Jason, just to confirm, the name of the technology is Zeta. No. It's called Zeta. Zeta is another chain that we are live on. It's EVM, but nothing special. We don't see anything special yet. It's called Zeta. I will PM this to you. Jason, thank you so much for the explanation. It's very clear. Guys, thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry for the voice, but thankfully we fixed it. It was a quick 3 to 5 minute break. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was more clear. We will see what we're going to cover next week. Maybe some tech products of what is happening, explaining one more time what is GhostDAO really going to be doing and how this will all come together. We thinking of potentially introducing 10 additional seats. Because again, you will see you will see the magic of GhostDAO. You guys will all be completely awestruck. Mr. IDK, I'm planning to have a call this or next week with everybody Sparta related. We have a little clan within the clan. So everybody Sparta related would be great to have you. All right. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.